Yeah, will do.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, so Tim and Tim, we're back again. And how you doing today, Tim? I know it's been a little crazy the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, doing well. All things considered, man, can't complain. Gonna close out some of these deals that we've had going on for a while. So that's always good, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's always a good time.
yeah, yeah,
Oh man, herding the
and then,
cats, as we like to
and then,
say.
yeah, herding the cats, and then launching a couple more, right? Launching a couple more, try to close out 2022 on a bang.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Hey, I think we're on track to hit our goals for this year, right? Like number of
Oh,
properties closed and
you
all that
know,
good stuff.
I think that I think we might do a show about that next week because
Ooh.
next week is the end of the quarter, right? So that means that there's one quarter left in the year. So we'll talk about kind of our goals and what we had said we were going to try to accomplish and where we are and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
hopefully everyone else that's on this that pays attention regularly, they'll go in and check their goals too and kind of have an honest discussion with themselves if they've been putting in the effort or not.
Yeah, have you adjusted yours at all through the year?
Not on paper. Maybe mentally I've adjusted them, but I haven't
Yeah.
done it on paper. So we'll definitely talk about that's going to be interesting next week. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Cool.
There you go. So yeah. So what are we talking about this week, by the
All
way?
right, this week, what's holding you back? God, I am so tired of reasons why people can't do something. There's always an external force that's causing them not to be able to do something. And I'm a huge believer in extreme ownership. If you haven't read that book, I can't remember the author right now off the top of my head, but you really should because it really talks about extreme ownership. Everything that happens to you and for you in life can be directly correlated to the actions that you've taken over time. And like all of the actions that you've taken in your entire life have led you to where you are today, right now. Right. You made the choice to be on this call. You made the choice to watch this recording. You made the choice to be active in real estate. You made the choice to try to buy apartment complexes or whatever your scenario is. And it comes up. I've had this conversation like 3 or 4 times now with people over the last 10 days or so, and they're always telling me about why they can't do something, and it's just really frustrating because you can change your environment, you can change your mindset, you can change anything that is going on in your life right now if you put some time and effort into it.
Yeah.
And the cliche saying of you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with is cliche. I got it, right? But at the end of the day, it's true. If you hang out with bodybuilders, you're probably going to end up getting back in shape. You hang out with a bunch of runners, you're probably going to start running marathons. You hang out with a bunch of apartment owners or apartment complex buyers, you're probably going to end up buying an apartment complex, right? Because that's just the way it works, right? Law of association. Tim, have you experienced any of this in conversations that you've had over the last couple of weeks where people that are interested in our coaching program, they're just telling us why it's not good for them or why they can't seem to find success or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a regular conversation I have. I follow up with guys and like, hey, what have you been doing? Guys I've known for 2, 3 years now, and they're like, what are you doing? And honestly, there's some guys that are kind of doing the same thing they were doing 2 years ago, which is fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. If that's where you want to be, that's where you want to be, and that's your call. And I don't judge you for that at all. But there's guys who 2 years ago told me, hey, I want to own 500 apartments or whatever, and today they own zero. And it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? Well, this happened, that happened, whatever. A lot of reasons why they couldn't do something, couldn't make something happen. And I'm just kind of like, okay, that's great and everything. And then last week, I was at the Burr 360 conference in Cincinnati, and those conferences like that are always interested, right? There's always like all this motivation in the room, all this energy, all this like, I'm going to go out and conquer the world, right? And one of the biggest things that actually Nate said on the stage was, leave this and go do something. Leave this conference and go do something. Because that's one of the things that you see a lot, right, with conferences is people leave all motivated, but they don't take any action. They don't do anything. They leave, and then you see them 6 months later at another conference. It's like, Well, what did you do? Well, my job got busy. This happened, that happened.
Yep.
All these things. So yeah, man, I run into this all the time. In fact, I think we were talking about this in our coaching class yesterday, right?
We were. So it's kind of been a little bit of a pent up frustration that I've had. And, I recently got some text messages from a friend of mine that, we had talked about like 6 months or a year ago, and it was the same thing. I got busy with this, I got busy with that. And, at the end of the day, it's how bad do you want it? And come to think, like, this is a very special week. On Thursday is September 22nd, and it will be my 1 year anniversary from being the last day at my W-2 job. And that was the action, the massive action that I took in order to make it happen for myself, right? To make moves, what I'm trying to do, I need to free up my mental space and my time period so that I can actually focus on what I wanted to grow. I mean, it was like if I could remove the 40 to 50 hours a week, sometimes 60 hours a week that I was working on my day job and solely focus that on my business, then I knew that I was going to be able to grow it exponentially because whatever you spend your time on, right? Whatever you give your attention to grows. And that was the action that I took because I knew that the day job was all of the problem, right? Because it was taking away my time and focus and it was giving me all this undue stress. And man, I was tired of working from 5 o'clock in the morning until 10 or 11 o'clock at night every single day, including the weekends, because I just wanted it that bad. And really, at the end of the day, there's no excuses because I wanted it badder than anybody else. And I know you did too, because we were both working those ridiculous hours during that time period. And God bless you. I don't know how you hung out until April, but you seem to be able to get through that. But it was, it's just a culmination of all of the actions that we took to get where we are today. Now look at what we're doing. It's like
Yeah.
we look at a $4 or $5 million deal. I'm like, do I really want to do that one? And it's interesting to me to see how my perspective has changed based on the experience and the growth and the actions that we've taken over the last 12 months.
Yeah, yeah, really good point. And yeah, freeing up that time. And what's funny is somebody asked me the other day, they were like, "So you're not working 12-hour days?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually working like 14-hour days right
I
now."
know.
Um,
Yeah.
because it's like my days didn't free up. It's just the energy that I was putting into my W-2 job. I've completely refocused that 100% into this, and quite frankly, the 12 to 14-hour day comment has really meant more to what you just said, that we've just had that much going on because I was so focused on W-2 and now I've moved that energy over here. It's just expanded what we're able to take on,
Mhm.
and we've grown, right? Like the stuff we did in 2021, it's compounding with the stuff we're doing in 2022, and it's grown. And to manage it right now, this is what it takes, and we're working on solving that, right? Like who not how.
Mhm.
And we're working on solving that. But yeah, man, taking massive action, that's really what it took. And what's funny, right? What's funny is somebody mentioned this yesterday. It's like, you see these people and they're doing everything and they're like, man, your everything just blew up for you all of a sudden. It's like you did this in 18 months, And the last week at the conference, right? They were like, Tim's done this in 18 months. And I'm like, yeah, I did this in 18 months, but there was like 24 months before that
Yeah.
nothing happened that got us to here. So it's like you said, it's like taking that action, even when it doesn't feel like there's anything coming from it. Because man, that is so tough. Like you're on the phone nonstop, like you said. But when you got a W-2 from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., and then from 5 p.m. to 8, 9 p.m., right? Like
Mhm.
calls, networking, nothing coming from it, no deals, all that, and man, it gets so discouraging sometimes. But it's like, no, you just got to keep plugging, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, man.
and
I didn't those types of things, there's no monetary value, right? You don't put any money into your bank account by doing those things, but they're absolutely necessary and crucial to your future success, right? Yaden likes to say, dig your well before you need to drink. And there's nothing could be truer, right? Because
right,
you spend those couple of years building those relationships, and then when you actually start to get the deal flow, you already have that relationship in place and you know what you can execute on based on your network. And that was a big thing that a lot of people talk to me about as well. Oh, they can't raise money, or they can't sign on the debt, or they don't know anybody that can sign on the debt. And I mean, any excuse, input any excuse there, right? And you can instantly crush any of those limiting beliefs by just saying, well, what are you doing? What steps are you doing in order to figure out that problem? And they're like, oh, nothing. I just don't know anybody. Well, how are you going to meet new people? And the biggest thing for me was going to those conferences and like small mastermind events and things like that. And, some of our business partners now, I met them literally a year ago next week, right? It'll be a year. And it was 12 months of building a relationship with them. And it wasn't like we're talking every week, but you introduce yourselves and then you pay attention to each other on Facebook. And then, you might comment here and there or send like a thumb up emoji or whatever. And then the next time you see each other in person, you start talking again and you have more to talk about because you've already built that relationship. And then it turns into like, hey, what are you working on? How can we help you? Or how can I help you? Or right, whatever the situation is. And it's not something that happens overnight. And I think that even a lot of people that are in my network now that are connected with people that have money and they want to be able to raise money from them haven't been able to because just because that they have money doesn't mean they're going to invest with you. I mean,
Right.
quite a few people that we know now are like, yeah, I'm going to raise a minimum of $1 million and then don't even come close to that number, like not even close. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like they're taking action and they're doing it and they're working towards that goal and they're exercising that muscle. But I think what's happening is people are realizing that the relationship side of things take way more to build the relationship than what they maybe anticipated so that you can perform on what you said you wanted to do. But the biggest thing, right, that holds people back is that fear of not being able to do it. Well, you got to try. And, sometimes people overcommit and they can't deliver on what they're committing with, but that's okay. Like I'm more proud of that individual for actually doing it and trying and
Yeah.
succeeding even at the lowest level so that they're building that reputation, they're building that muscle. And it's nothing that you or I as a coach or mentor can do for them. It's something that they need to go through themselves. It's part of the learning journey of how to talk to investors, how to build those relationships, how to clearly portray and listen to what your investors need, right? And the better that you can get at that, it's all exercising a muscle. You can read as many books as you want, but you got to go out there and you got to exercise the muscle if you want to really find success and prove your success with your actions.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that, man. And you mentioned something there that I've always, even in my W-2 career, I always managed to this concept or this idea, which was I'm less impressed by your success and more impressed by what you do when things aren't easy.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
and
so
that's
big.
yeah, that's to me, that's the indicator of what kind of partner, what kind of employee, what kind of whatever you're going to be is it's like, hey man, this cap raise wasn't easy, but you kept plugging at it. You kept plugging. You kept calling people, and maybe you said you were going to raise 250,000 and you raised 50, but you kept going. You didn't just go, man, nobody wants to
This
spend
is
money with.
hard. Forget it.
Yeah, like you kept going, and I look at that and I go, you know what, I'll take that. I'll take that because it's going to happen. You keep putting that kind of effort into it, it will occur. It'll happen. You'll
Hmm.
have success. More than likely, you will have success. And that's what I used to tell my team. Back in my technology days, which weren't that too long ago, but back in my tech days, I used to tell guys all that all the time. It's like, hey, just take action. Action. If things aren't easy, just don't throw your hands up in the air and give up. Look at what you can do different. Think outside the box. Make another effort. Make another suggestion. Try another option. We had we had three things on our three options on the table. We chose one. Go try the other one, right? That kind of thing. So that's always big to me.
Yeah, I got to throw in the favorite Friends quote: "Pivot,
Pivot.
pivot."
As you got a couch going up the stairs, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
props
awesome.
to your daughter for that one, huh?
No, she loves that one.
Yeah. Man, it's interesting though, and I agree with you. The person that's going to keep pounding the pavement at the end of the day gets way more of my respect, right? And it's it's hard to quantify success without a track record because unless you're super involved and you have like a very good relationship with different individuals, getting past that like vulnerability barrier of being able to talk openly about what you did wrong and how what you learned from it, those are the most like the deepest conversations that you could have with somebody in your inner circle. And like what I was talking about at the beginning was you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So you should find your circle of people that you can have those conversations with so that you can learn to grow from each other. And you got to be vulnerable, right? Because if everything is the social media rah rah of we did this and we did that and we're amazing, we're awesome, and our team did this and blah blah blah, right? Whatever. At the end of the day, you have to have that circle of people that you trust to be able to talk to openly about and say, hey, here's what I did, here's what went wrong, here's what I did to fix it, and that didn't fix it. What am I not seeing? Right. And you got to have somebody to be able to talk to about those types of things, because you need like a third party, like an unaffiliated third party that can just give you an honest opinion at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
hard truths hurt, sometimes, but they got to be said, because that's the only way that somebody's going to be able to truly push you. And I don't want to say that you have to have thick skin, but you have to understand when you're having those conversations of like they're saying that to help you, right? And don't get offended. It's just it is what it is at the end of the day, and you have to take their opinion and say, maybe they're right, because I can't see the trees from the forest right now based on the situation I'm currently in.
Yeah, yeah. So really, really good point. And
Ooh, I like
getting
that.
back to that kind of that limiting belief, the I can't do this or these
Yeah.
things. Man, I still I think I told you about this. Like a guy called me one time and was, hey man, how did you do this? And I told him he wanted to know how I did the things I did while having a W-2. And I told him, hey, I get up early. Instead of taking lunch, sometimes I take phone calls for the thing I want to be doing. And I work late. And hey, when I'm walking the dogs, I'm on phone calls. When I'm at my daughter's soccer practice, I'm walking around the field watching her practice on phone calls. Any time I had, I was doing something. And his immediate response was, "Well, I have a busy job. I work 10-hour days, and then I come home and I'm tired, and I gotta do this, I gotta do that." And I even said to him, I said, "Well, when you get off, when you come home, what do you do?" He's like, "Man, I gotta relax a little bit, watch a show or something like that." And I'm like, "That's
Mm.
time if you really want to do this, that's time you could be doing this instead of watching Netflix or whatever it is." And sometimes that's truly what it takes. It's like, hey, man, cancel the Netflix subscription, hide the TV remote, and just tell yourself for the next 6 months, I'm not going to watch TV. And when you have that temptation to sit down on the couch and do that, go in the office and do some work, or pick up the phone and
Mhm.
go outside and call somebody. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
I think what was it Jessica Lemon that posted that she like deleted, maybe somebody in my LinkedIn world had made a post about canceling their Netflix subscription
I
like
think it may have
within the
been
last month.
Jessica. I think
It
you're
might
right.
have been Jessica
Yeah.
or
Um,
somebody, right? And it's like those are the things that you need to do. And I did the same thing, right? It was I like to play Xbox with a couple of my buddies from college, but what I would do when I was going through this like learning phase of like, oh, well, I had to dedicate the time that I wanted to in order to be successful. 5 a.m. till 8, I was working on my business. I was actually reading, right? Because I was educating myself. Like I needed to do those types of things so that I can learn this new industry. Then I'd work my day job from like 8 to 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, whatever. Then I'd make dinner and then I'd, work till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. But what I did in order to maintain balance in my life was on Friday nights, I would get off work and then I would just shut off everything and I would go watch a movie with my wife, because otherwise I never saw her. I was just in my room the whole time, like
yeah.
day in day out, I was in my room. And then on Saturdays, I'd get up Saturday morning at like 6, 7 o'clock, and I would have me time. And my me time was playing Xbox with my buddies. And sure, it was only for like an hour or two on a Saturday morning, but then by like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm done. Like I've scratched that itch. I gave myself me time. I spent time with my wife. Now I'm going to go back to building my business, right? And it's all about prioritizing what's important to you, right? And
Yeah.
those two things, those three things were important to me: my growing my business, spending time with my wife, and playing Xbox with my buddies in the morning. Like that was it. It was a pretty simple thing, but being disciplined in that mindset that you have to have is really holding yourself accountable, because accountability really, or what's that saying? It's not accountability, but it's like, doing the right thing when no one is watching. It's a, what is that? Like, oh God, why am I drawing a blank? It's like a true character, right? Like true character is doing the right thing when
When
nobody's
nobody's
watching.
watching.
Right. And that's what it truly is. If you want to be disciplined in order to achieve something greater or something different, is you have to be disciplined in order to achieve what you want to. And nobody's gonna hold you accountable to do that. Right. At the end of the day, it's how bad do you want it? And do you want it bad enough to hold yourself accountable?
Yeah. Yeah, and this Facebook user, we have a lot of Facebook user here. This Facebook user, she actually makes a really good point. And hey, I was there once too. I had one of my first businesses I ever launched. I would work all day, all night. Nothing changed. I didn't make much progress at all. And that's kind of where next week's call, for at least for me, comes into play, is working towards something. It's we can all go be busy. Busy doesn't necessarily mean progress, right?
Hmm.
I can do all kinds of things to keep me busy, but am I working towards something? What am I doing to work towards those things? So, there is a balance is important, and also having structure to the work you're doing, understanding that I know I need to focus on these 3 or 4 or 5 things to get me to the goal line. So making sure that if I am up working all night, that it's towards one of those things, right? For me, that was a big change, because man, I used to just sit there and I'd like work on the website for 2 minutes, then I'd go over here and work on inventory for 5 minutes, and then I'd go over here and do this for 3 minutes, and none of it really ever made any progress for me.
Hmm.
It was work. I was busy. I was working till 4 a.m., but I wasn't seeing the results I wanted to see, and that was typically because of lack of goals and structure for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was either you or my wife Danielle had mentioned this, but oops, had said the most you got to eat the frog. I don't. Were you the one that told me that? Eat the frog. Yeah, it definitely
I've
wasn't you. It
never
didn't give
heard
me the
that
eyebrows.
phrase.
So maybe it was my wife. So that's one of them. I know that's one of my downfalls is people will tell me something and I will remember what they said, but I don't remember who told me it. Because I think the message is more important than the messenger. So somebody had said to me, "You got to eat the frog," and that means do the most difficult thing that you don't want to do first thing. Right, first thing, just go right at it. Like if you don't like doing inventory counts, boom, that is the very first thing that you do, because it takes so much mental energy and stress in order to do something that you don't like to do, that needs to be done, that's urgent and important. You should just do it first, because otherwise you're not going to be able to move forward without having this piece done. And I like that. Eat the frog. Yeah, I can't remember. I bet you my wife told me that, but I don't know. I'll give her credit for it at least right now. But yeah, she'll tell me all the time. She's like, if I don't like doing something, like that's the first thing that you should do is eat the frog first. Go ahead and just do it right away, because that's what is holding your business back from growing and expanding. Or even if when I say your business, I mean your business could be learning right now, like learning apartments. It could be underwriting deals, it could be whatever. Like if that is whatever your weakness is and it's something that that you need to expand upon on, is eat the frog and go after it first thing in the morning. And that's not to say that you have to be the one to do everything in this business, but you do have to kind of be you do have to know enough to be dangerous, right? It's very popular where people are always just like, well, you just find a partner that makes up that weakness. Yes, that's true, but you have to get to that point where you can find a partner that makes that weakness, and you need to know enough and to be able to have a conversation about what you're looking at, even though you don't know how to do it or have to be able to do it.
Yeah,
A lot of people will mention that, like, don't spend time focusing on your weaknesses, focus on your strengths. And I'm not saying like dedicate all of your time to becoming the best underwriter in the world if you're terrible at underwriting. Do that first, is go underwrite a deal or two, get more familiar with it, get more comfortable with it, so that at the end of the day, when you're able to look and have a conversation with somebody about underwriting, even if you didn't do it, then you are more well-rounded and you're more educated about the subject matter.
yeah, really good point. And I kind of like that, like do the thing you don't like first, because I I actually look at I kind of have I look at a different approach, right? Like what I always found with people that work for me, and even my wife sometimes, is they see this big chunk that they got to accomplish, right?
Mm.
And it's almost like it scares them, or they're paralyzed because it's like this massive ball of work that they got to get done. And I always look at them and I'm like, hey, if you just continue to sit there and stare at all this work, nothing's going to get done. And I'm like, don't look at the chunk, right? Just pick one and do it. Pick
Mhm.
something and do it. Pick something and do it. Pick something and do it. I was like, before you know it, it's all done.
Mhm.
Um, and I think some of that comes out of my triathlon days, or even when I was a kid. My dad would be like, "See that pile of wood? Go stack it." Like I found myself staring out the window, like, God, that's a huge pile of wood, right? And but what I found was if I just picked a piece up and stacked it, picked a
Mhm.
piece up and stacked it, and I stopped thinking about how much wood I had to stack. Next thing I know, I had a big ass stack of wood. And
Mhm.
I guess that's always kind of like dawned on me. Like when I would do triathlons, it's like, damn, I got to ride the bike for 100 plus miles, and it's like, well, just 1 mile at a time. Hey, there's a mile,
Mhm.
there's a mile, there's a mile, and
Mhm.
you just, don't focus on all the work that has to be accomplished. Just focus on like consistent progress, taking one
Mhm.
thing, accomplish it, pick another, accomplish it. For me, that's always been big. Um, that's always been the way that I've kind of moved down the road a little bit, is like trying to make sure that I'm doing a little something every day, no matter how small, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like, it's that feeling of overwhelm when somebody looking
Yeah,
at, eating the elephant. Well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time,
one
right?
bite at a time.
That's right. And it's so easy to say it. And sometimes you can get lost in the moment of looking at the elephant, trying to figure it out. But again, that's important. That's why you got to have your circle of influence and say, hey,
Yeah,
here's the elephant that I'm trying to eat today. Where do I start? Right. And if the elephant, what I like to use underwriting, because that's the one thing that most people come to talk to me about, and I can explain very, very well because it's definitely my wheelhouse. But it's always like, okay, well, let's start with the basics. Do you understand all of these terminologies? Do you understand what these things mean? Do you understand why they're important? And then once you build that foundation of small pieces, then you build up and you build up and you build up. And I like to make the distinguish. I like to tell the difference. I can't use big words today. I like to tell the difference between underwriting a deal and analyzing a deal, right? Because some people think that they need to underwrite it and analyze it at the same time. Underwriting it is simply taking all the numbers and putting it into the calculator. Analyzing it is figuring out how to stress test it and put it into a different business plan and make it a deal. And I was like, you don't need to know how to analyze a deal, but you do need to know how to underwrite it. Because if you can underwrite it, then in time you will start to learn how to analyze it, because that is just a muscle that continues to
yeah,
grow every time you look at more and more and more deals.
yeah, yeah. Really good point. Really good point. And that's where, quite frankly, that's where I've learned a lot from you. To be honest, is getting those numbers on paper and then starting to adjust, right? Getting
Yeah,
them in there.
that's my thing. I know Billy Poloni likes to give me a hard time about it because he's like, "Don't worry about it. I'll just give you the number. You could go put it in your file, and then you can come back and talk to me about it." I'm like, hey, at least you know how I communicate.
Yeah, I mean, guys, like honestly, like Vitali here, I'll be like, here's something we're gonna do, and I think it's a 70-30 deal, and then like without doubt, he'll call me like a day later. He's like, man, I played with this thing till like 11 o'clock last night, and I ran like four different analysis on it, and I think we can keep 50% of this deal.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
That's
so
hey,
yeah,
that's fun for me, I guess, in a weird way.
yeah, but that comes with practice. That comes with time.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's different than underwriting, right?
It
That's
is. It's way different.
yeah.
That's why, like in our deal room, in our Discord channel. Side note: if you're interested in joining our Discord channel, go to our website and you can pay for it online and get access to it. On Tuesdays, we underwrite deals, and
Mhm.
I analyze other people's deals after they've underwritten them, because
Yeah,
the more I can engage with them person and ask them questions, it starts to open up your mind in different ways that you're like, huh, I didn't think of that. Right. And you start doing that more frequently over and over and over and over again. And then you start asking yourself those questions before you even bring it to me. And it's growth. It's part of your journey. It's part of learning process. It's part of, the pain of learning a new skill, right, is necessary. And I mean, it's not something that can just be installed. It's something that has to be
Yeah.
endured.
Yeah. So folks, like, seriously, don't limit the beliefs. Kind of back to where we started this whole
Yeah.
thing. Don't limit the beliefs. Again, I was at that conference last week, and I'm standing there talking to one of the guys, and I know 4 years ago his goal was, I want $100 million worth of real estate, right? Well, today he's surpassed that number, and now he's
Mm.
talking about $1 billion of real estate. So you never know where this is going to go. I heard somebody say this morning, and it just kind of hit me. They were like, "I think I'm doing the best I can," and I'm like, "How do you know what your best is, right? Like, what do you mean the best you can? Don't decide you're doing the best you can. Just do, and see where it takes you. You never know. You may surprise yourself on what your best really is."
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
so
mean, I think you're putting yourself you're putting a glass ceiling on yourself as soon as you're saying, like, when you label what your best is, then mentally you will never be able to achieve anything more. So I'm just doing what I can right now with what I know, and I'm always eager to learn more.
yeah, yeah,
So
100%. So
all right. This has been a fun conversation. I appreciate everybody joining in and following along. Hope you guys tune in next week. We're going to talk about end of Q3, beginning of Q4 goals, and where are we tracking, and if we're tracking or not, and what we're planning on trying to do throughout the end of the year, because there's no days off. All right. Just keep growing, and I'm going to keep doing what I know how to do. And yeah, we hope this was this helpful for you. If you have any show ideas or you want to be a guest on our show, reach out to either one of us, and we'll get you set up. So
yeah.
without that,
Hey guys, I appreciate it. Michael, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and please keep coming back. We'll try to keep it good.
should we hit the YouTube thing? Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notifications.
I,
Yeah.
I think we're pretty bad at that. Like we need to.
Well, if people like it, then they'll join. If not, they won't. I don't need a call to action for that. So, all right. See y'all next week. Adios.
Hey, see you guys.